What's up, guys? It's Skylar from Audeka, and today I'm going to go over our collaboration with Rawtekk called Extinction, which is out on their album called Here's to Them, which, if you haven't heard this album yet, you got to go do that because it's like their Sprouted and Formed LP, just an excellent combination of textures and soundscapes, vocals, bass design, in all different types of formats. I don't understand how more people don't know about these guys. They're so talented, and a couple years ago when we first heard their Sprouted and Formed LP, we to us they were just up here. We're just like, how do you even make this stuff? And so a couple years ago, what happened was we asked them for some tracks. Not for some tracks, but if we could play some of their tracks from their Sprouted and Formed LP on our mix that we were doing for Caliber Music, because the tracks are so cool. So if we go back and listen to that mix, there's a few of them in there. Working Man and Sprouted and Formed, Beneath the Surface of the Sea, all those tracks just blew us away. And so we had asked them for some, if they had any other tracks, and so they sent us some, and we sent them a couple tracks back when we were in contact with them, and they liked the tracks and asked if we could collaborate, and we like lost our minds. You know what I mean? Like we were like, yeah, for sure. And then like after we agreed, we were like, oh wait, so we gotta like be really good because these guys are like, they set the bar so high with their audio work. So we were pretty nervous to get going, but so what happened after that is they actually sent us basically a collection of really detailed drum loops, which I'll show you in a little bit. Just the ones that we used in this collaboration, because they did send a few more, which are in other collaborations that we've done that are not out yet. So we have one coming out in May. That's going to be coming out with Bad Taste. And then we have another one that's coming out with, on our album. That'll be coming out later this year. So you guys can hear those later. But yeah, I can go into the project here and kind of show you the drums that they sent. And see. So, like that loop right there, I just want to call attention to like all the high-end detail that's going on, and then like just the rolling vibes, but listen to all the like crawling high end. Really cool. So like to make some basses that would go along with that, it kind of lends itself to like more of a rolling vibe, because it's like, low rider status or something. I don't know how you describe that. But anyway, we wanted to make basses that would kind of go good with that. So that's what we did. You'll notice these stems are titled Elephant because one of the bass sounds we made sounds like an elephant. I don't have the bass projects for all of these because some of them are old, and I also recently built my own desktop, which in that transition I lost some projects, which was kind of poor timing, I suppose, with our album and stuff too. So it's been kind of a headache getting some of that stuff back together, but we're doing good now. So this bass here, see, and then so this one I can, and then you have it here too. What this is a saw wave, two saw waves, which are pitched slightly differently from each other. One above the root note and the other below the root note. This is called detuning. And what this is, what it does is you hear this like that kind of wiggling characteristic is coming from that detuning. And then you throw that through a distortion, and if you equalize the sound before it goes into the distortion to where the low end is more prominent, the low end has a lot of influence on the way the sound breathes, I guess is the easiest way to say it. I do have the sound design project for one of these other ones, and I'll show you what I mean. It'll be easier to kind of get a grasp on that if I just show you. But some of these sounds are like snippets, like that's just something we had in our library that we adjusted the pitch of to match the key of everything else. There's a couple more like that in this stem here. But this sounds, that was made in FM8, and I have the project for that, which we can go through. And then once we're done going through that project, I'll show you how this first draft sounds. So the project I have here, sure, we can save the project there. Since this project is a little old, and also I was working on it on my other computer at the time, some of these plugins are installed. So what are you going to do? Buy a filter, good plugin, highly recommend it. But I did have some issues with it crashing. So, but it's a cool filter. Actually, Technion is the one who got me onto that filter. So, FM8, this is where everything starts. Let me make sure the volume is not too loud here, so I'm going to turn this down. Okay, so here is the raw synth. So really what this is I was just messing around with these parameters, the ratio and offset. FM synthesis is cool because you can take one waveform and you can modulate another waveform with it. So say here I have a square wave, and you notice the routing, how it goes down and over to the F. So E to F and then D to F. So you have two other waveforms that are affecting this one in one way or another. I think what it does is it multiplies that. I don't know what that means in terms of the actual, like what happens to the waves if you have one sine wave and you multiply another one. What does that do? I don't know. It makes it sound different. So, and then these here are feedback loops. Not loops. These are feedback, so the sound is routed into itself. Without these, the sound actually is a little different. So if I so you can really adjust how the sound is behaving with these, which really I just got lucky, or maybe really, I mean, it's just a matter of sitting here and fine-tuning it till it sounds cool. If I play other notes, it sounds really terrible. I guess that's kind of cool. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, this sounds unique is that I could only play one note really, and it could sound cool. So I had to record that note, and then you'll notice in the track that the LFO is at different speeds, and that's just adjusting the length of the waveform. So you can adjust the speed at which it plays back by shortening or lengthening it. And here you just look at the MIDI data. So yeah, that's how the sound was made. We can look at the effects here. Filter's no longer active. This is on and off here, so it's not even doing anything. Here's what I was talking about with the equalization prior to distortion. So what you do is you pump more low end into the sound and then throw it through a distortion plugin of your choosing. and then have a great day. This is all different types of distortion. You have tube, you have mechanical. This boosts your high end, basically. It's what seems to happen when I turn that up. And then bit crushing, which I think what bit crushing does is it like reduces the bit rate of the sound, and it makes it like lower quality, which seems counterintuitive, but if it makes it sound cool, then who cares, right? I don't actually know if this really did much for the sound anyway. So it adds noise, really, is what it's doing. So, cool beans. Got a notch here, which is scooping out sound from the 80 hertz. So I suppose I could have just done that with the equalizer, but it doesn't really matter. And then, so since you've scooped all these mids out of here, you have to kind of make up for that, which is done here with the Saturn. Saturn's a really cool plugin. If you don't have it, I'd recommend getting it from FabFilter's website, trying out the demo if you'd like it. Just try to go ahead and support them because this is a really sick plugin. What you can do is you can split everything up into bands and then apply different types of distortion, and you can adjust the amount that you distort, and you can adjust the dynamics. You can do a feedback of that particular band into the sound. Really cool stuff. So at the high end, you notice the dynamics are all the way down, and the reason I did that is, in theory, it should help the high end stick to the movement of the sound more because it's going to make it more dynamic. So like if the volume goes down a decibel, if I'm messing with these dynamics, it's going to drop even more rapidly, and then it's also going to skyrocket more rapidly. It gives it more dynamic range. So rather than squashing it, where if you squash it, it doesn't actually move with the rest of what's happening from the raw synth. Okay, and then it's distorting. The concept behind distortion is it adds harmonics. Sometimes it sounds good, sometimes not, but that's why if you distort sounds, sometimes they sound more thick because you're actually adding more frequencies to whatever you're distorting. Here we have some distortion on the mids. I don't have any distortion on the low end. Try to keep that somewhat clean. I don't always do that, though. Sometimes I throw distortion on everything. It doesn't really, just whatever sounds good. But here, low dynamics, so that the sound would, again, kind of bounce around more. And then just some final EQing. So that's how that sound was made. And then recorded and then kind of mangled with more. So let's go back to the arrangements project. And here we are. Let's just do a little preview. I can show you how everything got thrown together here. So see, it sounds a lot different than what it is, what the final version is. So Rawtekk did a lot with what we sent initially. We also had a pad in here later, which I really like this pad. I want to use it for something later, but another time. And kind of these like creepy things too. Like those, but that's okay. We can use those for something else, but yeah, that's the first draft of it, really. They had some other drums here too. Just really cool. I don't know how they do. You can ask them in the comments or something, like, how do you get, I mean you'd sit there for a while and layer different things with the drums, and they just do a really good job at it, you know. So what happened next is we sent them these stems, and they actually came back with what is the finished version. And I can show you the stems in a second, but here's the finished product. Really cool intro with these like ripping things. The drums you'll hear are way different. They really blew up the sounds too. You know, I think they did some, we can kind of look at them in more detail in the stems, but I think they did some nice stereo work with them to make them more huge sounding. And then the second drop. Did some drum and bass stuff, so really cool. So they had sent us stems that outlined that arrangement that you hear there, but we adjusted it to basically just have a different second drop. It was not as like danceable, was the only thing, so you can hear it here. I really wanted to bring out this sound here. That like dragging sound, it sounds really cool combined with the drums. But went for something more danceable, basically, in the finished version. So that was kind of the way it was all arranged. Is we had it set up with these kind of different drums for the second drop. But the way they originally sent it, we just stuck with that instead. And yeah, let's just take a look at some of these sounds, though. I mean, there's a lot of really cool sounds that I actually haven't really asked, but you can ask them, like this. That's super cool, you know. Like, what is that? That's pretty dope too. It's really cool too. Like, you take a simple element, like just a sub pulse, you know, and then an atmosphere. And it just sounds cool. And then all these, it's awesome. So yeah, but you can tell, like, in terms of the bass sounds, a lot more layers there. Whereas the originals were a lot more dry, so they did a lot of work there with blowing up the sounds, which is really cool. So yeah, that's kind of the second arrangement, what they did. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about the process, be sure to throw them in the comments. We can answer them there. Your questions for Rawtekk especially too, you know, they could probably respond with some stuff, because I don't know the details of how they did everything on their end. But it was surreal working with them, and like I said, we had 2 more collaborations that are coming out that I can't wait for them to get released. Really proud of them. So again, if you can, well, you have to. You got to go check out this album. Here's to them. It's out with Med School. Not yet though. I think it's still like in preview mode at the time of making this video. But anyway, it's worth checking out. If you haven't heard of Rawtekk, you gotta do it. Gotta listen to him. So yeah, again, any comments, questions, throw them in the comments section and we can answer them. Have a good day.